Okay, I wanted to make some more progress on my to-do this next list. Handle mic permission not given error. So I received notifications through, what is it called? Honeybadger? Let's take a look at Honeybadger. Not allowed. So we got this error. Let's see what it tells us. Unhandled promise rejection warning, not allowed error. The request is not allowed by the user agent or the platform in the current context. Okay, is there a stack trace? Unknown. No source map is available for the stack trace. JavaScript stack trace. Okay. How do we test this? How do we reproduce this locally? Because permission, I think I did this on my phone. Well, I suppose we can do a try catch somewhere. Let's see. Agora client. It would be required. Not at the Agora client. Actually, it would be here in the menu mic output. I think here we try to okay, on this component load, mic and output, we do a get user media call. Okay, this does have a try catch. But what about when we select it? We select it. This one doesn't. Okay. But where's it getting rejected? Because okay, this one. Let me try to reproduce this again. XR space and if we do this, let's say in incognito mode, XR space, so it should ask us, okay, we want to join the space. Okay, so if we block here, where does the error initiate from? So it can't fulfill this part, which is showing it. So if we block, okay, this is what we're seeing here. Can't see dump, permission denied. So where does that happen? I think it must be here because these didn't load up and it was asking for permission, right? So what happens if I do okay, get user media audio true. Let me try this. Then because then this is the part in the then which has a catch, but there's no catch on the one on the outside, right? Where's my incognito window? So if I do this, yeah, I think this is the one. So if this is true, Let's do a catch here. Let's do an alert. Some features may not work correctly if without microphone permission. Okay, we'll do that for now. Where else? So if this is denied, we can confirm. What does the confirm do? Confirm confirms the mic and output callback, which will just set these things to nothing, right? So we've passed this in from the component above, which is what? The welcome? No. Welcome calls app. App shows it and it passes in the confirm mic and output callback, which is here. So these two are null. We will just put these things on. Save mic and output choice. Which will save them to nil? Okay. I would say only save it if they're not nil. So, I mean, I can do that in here. If, so the data is this and this, and we'll do this. If mic device data and I think we need an output device too. Yeah, give us the out data output device. We want both of these. I believe if you don't give us both, we don't save anything, which will prompt it again and again. I think this will take care of that. We can deploy and test. So git commit. Try to catch mic permission denied error. Let's deploy. What's next on our list? So this might be done. Bug. Okay, entities list. Yes. Currently, when we load our entities, it comes from Windows serialized space entities. And so as long as you keep the menu open, we're modifying the entities. But once we close it, we're still getting it back from Windows serialized space entities, which isn't updated. So is that an easy fix? Let's see. Let's go to our Svelte template for the entity list. Here it is. And let's see. So entities is this to start with. I'm not a fan of this because by the time you open it up, this could be stale already. So we should make an API call to get this. And this could be quite big as well. We don't have an endpoint to return a list of entities, do we? Okay, this is done deploying. Let's give it a test. What? Here, go here. Alright, it wants to join the space. And some feature may not work correctly without microphone permission. Okay, it's handled. Let's manage and remove the block. Remove the block. There we go. Load this space. And now it's okay. Okay, I'm satisfied that's working. All right, now let's come to let's look here. Localhost, and I have an API graphical. No, great definition. Or is it just graphical? I think it's just graphical. There we go. So here we can get spaces, gets a space, or maybe you can get back one space. And how do you make a GraphQL call from JavaScript? Let's see, make GraphQL call from JavaScript. Consuming GraphQL in plain JavaScript. So you can stringify this business. Require HTTPS, cause, host name, path, and the HTTPS request. HTTPS request. Simplifying the request. Node fetch, remove amount of boilerplate. Node fetch, JSON stringify, get data. The function response await, fetch, and the path. Post data headers. Alright. I mean, I don't client-side JavaScript. consuming the response. Character data, template function, document characters, map. The goal here is not to dissuade anyone from using GraphQL. Is it offer more not requiring. If you're interested in some of the jobs, here's you. Apollo client, relay GraphQL request. What's the difference? Apollo client, Oga, relay GraphQL request. Okay, this has 17,000 stars. Fully featured production ready caching GraphQL client for every UI framework and GraphQL server. This might be overkill. What's this? Highly customizable, versatile for React, Svelte, virtue add-on features like normalized caching as you grow. Okay, extensible library that grows with you. Get started. Quick start guide. urlq. Highly customizable, versatile GraphQL client. Alright, let's look at these Svelte bindings. npm install urlq Svelte GraphQL. Import create client from the Svelte client create client, and the URL is this. Okay. At the bare minimum, we'll need to pass API's URL. Another common option is fetch options. This option allows us to customize options that will be passed to fetch. We got the client URL fetch option, token get token, return, headers, var token, providing the client. To make use of the client in Svelte, we have to provide it the context API from a parent component to its child components. This will share one client with the rest of our app if we for instance provide the client. What do you mean? Create client, set client. Client is this. Set the client. Client. To make use of the client in Svelte, providing the we have to provide it via the context API. The set client method internally calls Svelte's set context function. What is that? What is a Svelte context function? Associates an arbitrary context object with the current component and the specified key. The context is then available to the children of the component. Ooh. Including slotted content with get context. Oh, any child. Oh, this would have been useful. So I could have put this into the app, and any child can get access to this, right? Because every component is a child of app. Import set contacts answers 42. Content not inherently reactive. Okay, well, this is cool. Okay, that is cool. Go back. All right, so we set the client. Cool. Just the client is shared. Then the Svelte package also exposes a get client function that uses get context to retrieve the client and child components. This is used throughout the API. We can also use a convenience function init client. This function combines the create and set client calls into one. Init client. Great. Queries will implement queries using the operation store and query function. The operation store creates a Svelte writable store. You can use it to initialize a data container in urlq. This store holds onto our query inputs, like GraphQL query and variables, which we can change to launch new queries. It also exposes the query's eventual result, which we can then observe. Run a first query. For the following examples, we'll imagine that we're querying data from GraphQL API that contains the to-do items. Import operation store and query. Operation store has a string query to-dos, to-dos. Query the to-dos. If to-dos, if $sign to-dos, oh, then this is like permanent. Will it keep fetching it? Oh, if to-dos dot fetching, we say loading. If to-dos error, then say this, else this is a success. That is cool. Here we have implemented our first GraphQL query to fetch to-dos. We're first creating an operation store which holds onto our query, and we're passing. Okay, I want to try this. Okay, let's do this. We'll go to assets, npm install, save urlq, at urlq, at urlq / svelte and graphql. Okay. Now what? Now if using Vite as your bundler, you might stumble upon the error function called outside component initialization, which will prevent the page from loading. To fix it, you must add urlq svelte to Vite's configuration property. Optimize dependency exclude. We're using ES build, anything like that? Not that I know of. I hope it's okay. Let's see. Setting up the client. So let's create this client. I liked what they said about init client. Let's do this. Init client in the app. I just do this. Then we'll run our first query. So bring in this stuff. Okay, so operation. Okay, so import these things. From there, to-dos, operation store. Okay, so we want to query. We want to query spaces. I just want to test this. ID. Whoa! Failed to fetch. Where's our server running? It's not. Okay. We want to run this. To-dos, query to-dos. And let's go to homepage. Spaces, enter, and oh, like I ran a query. Query to dos, and so now this is a store, so we should be able to put this in the page somewhere. What do they have? They had if to dos fetching, blah 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 blah. No, if to dos is fetching, say loading, else if to dos error, say oh no, else for every to dos data spaces as space, show the space ID. There it is. Cool, it works. How do I get the data though? If I just want the data, I just want to console log it out, for example. Query to dos returns an operations store. To dos dot what? Context data. Data, and what is this? This is console log this. Do we have to await for something? Yeah, it's undefined here. So query any kind of object given a store. Is there like a to-do like subscription or something? Oh. Subscribe. Can you do this? I'm just guessing, by the way. It did give me a value. Stale false, fetching false data. Blah, blah, blah. By the time you get here, I think it is ready. Because before, it's undefined. Neat. So you get an observable. Okay. So what do we want to do here? We have this store. We need it on more than one place. Serialize scene. First, let me bolster this API a little bit. So our API is in the web under schema. So here's our object. It has an ID, slug description, and we have spaces, but maybe we can also get a space by an ID. So we can say field space, and we can like give it some parameters. Field, it is make a take filter. Absent elixir field with filter. Query arguments. There we go. Yes, how do you do those? Okay. And query do query post list of this. Field user arg. Get a user of the block. Field user. Is this what it returns? A user? Yeah, that's the return type. Get a space using the slug. So we say space. You'll get back a space. and it takes a slug, which is a not null string, and resolve with space resolver get space resolver space define space root args info okay, and spaces get space by slug, which is args dot slugs. Go back to graphical. Root query type, we've got a space that can take an argument as a slug and return a space. So let's try it out. Can we give me the query with a single space and a slug ABC and return me the ID bug. Okay. Query say slug. Okay. Do we have a slug called that? Maybe we don't. Is it just A? Yes. Okay. All right. That worked. And our space needs a couple more things. Space has these things, but we have settings and entities. So you have a list of entities, and then you have an object that's settings. Schema. Now an object that is settings. What's in the settings? Settings. Okay, I got a couple of these things. Whoa. Whoa. Oh. Field, and this is yeah, it's a non-null boolean. Skybox is a non-null float. Clear killer, non-null string. Fog color, non-null string. Fog density, non-null float. Alright, that's settings. You can have an object that's entity. we get here. So this is a field of, okay, an entity has an ID. It has a name. What else is an entity? Entity has name, type, space ID, has components, right? Their type is a non-null string, and it has a space ID, which is a non-null. Is that a type? Parent ID is an ID. Okay, now I don't know how to do like something that has many. Probably this is a field as well. So what is a component? Object component. It is a so it belongs to an entity ID. Field entity ID. It's a non-null ID. You have your own ID too. And then it has a type, right? That's it. It has a type. Then it has a data field. Type, which is a string, not null. And then it has a data field, field data, which is what? Arbitrary map. GraphQL type map. GraphQL JSON object from GraphQL doesn't natively support a map type. How does Elixir sell this? Absinthe map type. Type object. Object, a person do. That's this object though. Scalar. Absinthe. No map type. Map of string. Map of string keys. GraphQL, how to return a map. Absent. Where do I put this? Types? DXR dot schema. We'll put it under schema types. Types, custom JSON. Yes. And let's move this. Move. It's here. If you want to move types, move it. And then we'll resolve non-existent. Okay. And right, we have this. How do I use this in the schema? star dot schema dot type. Help me out here. Like that. Whoa. In data is not defined in your schema. How do you use custom types? Absence. Use custom types. Type custom. Import types. Schema types. Custom JSON. Didn't really like that. Import fields. This scalar is just called JSON. Name JSON. Do I just use this? It's not yelling at me. If I did this, JSON not defined. Okay, specific reference. Right. Sure. Grab all the components. Let's see. I just want to see how it comes back. So field components give me list of component new resolve at space resolver components 3. Jump in there, define components. I don't need any of these. Just give me back spaces list components, all the components. And this just gives me back a list of components, so give me back OK. And that. We have components. It will return a component. Okay. Sure, just give me back query of components. ID, data. Yes. Yeah, give me the name. Does it have a name? No, it doesn't. Type. What else is on here? Component had ID, entity ID, entity ID, type, and then data. This is cool. Very cool. I think we would want to filter by the entity. So we would want args, and then we would want to do list components for the entity. And what does this thing take? It takes the entity ID, so args entity ID. And in the schema side, we could say field, yes, but also arg entity ID, the non-null ID. So now if we grab an entity ID that is this string and refresh this page, this now requires an entity ID. So if we say entity ID and paste that in, it's now happy. Just get the values for the entity, and if there's a mistake in here, cast, it cannot be dumped to the type binary ID. Yeah. Okay. Oh, this thing crashed hard. It didn't even get back. Didn't even get back. Wait, spaces 439. Okay. Continuing. What else do we want here? In the schema, we can get some components. We want so probably we don't want this floating around out here. we want to be able to bring a space field settings you back. Oh, settings, I guess. Reload and give me a single space. Give me a space with the slug of a. Give me back the ID and give me back the settings. Which I want actually, what is settings on the is settings its own model? No, it's an embedded schema, so it's on the space embeds. So I could do it this way, just to give them back a map. Schema settings return JSON. Yeah. So then you don't need this. Ooh, yep. Cool. And then space has a list of field entities. Entities is a list of null list of entities. So then in our resolver, here I'm going to have to read up about data mapper later, but right now you can say list spaces list entities for space with components. Get an grid space by slug. And then load. So this needs some work. We got to be able to pass the args into something. And if, yeah, we have to be able to construct this dynamically. This is having a diminishing returns if we keep making new methods for all of these things. So why don't I put a pin in that? Is there any other low-hanging fruit I can do this? So that might be, okay, Svelte size need access to edit settings. This also depends on the backend because we have to access the settings for the space. So that also requires an API. Edit mode should have tools overlay, collapsible hand menu, point and pick, add back teleportation. Okay, we can't teleport because the floor is not added to the teleportation list. An easy way to fix this is to just add every object into the teleportation list. And it's kind of a cheat. Track left and right hand controllers. Add an easy way to add an image role. We need file upload. All right, we'll take a break here.